though that they could take a little bit more time on some shows because you're like, man, this is a really awesome show. And you guys have a short budget and a short time period, and, you know. Or I wish that I could speak Japanese sometimes because then I could actually know how to say all the words because I don't at all. And people get mad at me like, it wasn't this, it was this, and I'm like, well, I don't speak Japanese, so I'm sorry. You know, like my bad. But that's one of the main things that we get hounded for is mispronunciation of names and stuff. But what are you gonna do? Well, you know, every time I get to a name, I'm like, how do you say that? You know, like we were recording over in high school, and I'm like, I don't know. What do you you know what I mean? They're like, this, and this. Okay, sure, we'll do it like that. So, but all in all, it's a good job. Pizza's really good. I like the sauce on the pizza. Yeah.
It seems to me like you might be keeping up with like current seasons, and you talk about one that's still like airing in Japan. Is there anything that's in one of the current seasons that like anything that you've been keeping up with that you really want to be a part of, or you're hoping that it gets licensed?
Well, I'm doing Heaven's Lost Property, and it's actually really fun. It's kind of a weird show. It's a little goofy. It probably had a fairly low budget in Japan, but it's actually really funny and fun. The whole time, my character is like practically like a robot, but it's always like, yes, master. Like, so it's just really fun to record her because like I'm constantly being told to bring it down and be calm, which I'm never told in a movie. You know, so like that's fairly interesting. They have a movie that they're doing for that, and I'm really hoping that Funimation gets a license for the movie. So, you know, because it looks really goofy, and they're like, it's like a scary episode, and they brought out the maid outfits, which is the only outfit that hasn't been in the anime yet. So I'm like, yes, maid outfits. So I'm excited. I really hope that is a gotten, and I hope that we get a couple, even though I'm not in it, I hope we get some more Evangelion too, because they're coming up with a lot of those. I know Funimation got us a couple, but yeah, so I mean, we'll see. You never know, because sometimes the licenses, get mixed up and it'll go to another company for whatever reason. I mean, Sergeant Frog went all over the place before it actually got out. So, I mean, I think it was recast like 50 times, honestly. Everybody played a part in that at one time. At one time, everybody was in it. I think I was like 5 characters. At one time, sometime. But, because that's another thing too that a lot of fans don't realize is that everything has to be approved by the Japanese before it goes out. They watch it, and they approve it. And if they don't like it, they send it back. And you'll get it recast 50 times, because I don't like that character. And so in the end, people are like, I don't understand why this person didn't play this character because I think that they're better for this part. Well, because the Japanese people did not agree with you. That's why. But, what's really scary is when they're there, when they're actually present, like one of the Japanese creators would come in for like some of the shows, and then you get nervous because you're like, that this is their baby, this is their creation, and you're trying to pay it homage, and it's like, oh my gosh! I hate it when people are in there and I'm trying to record. Because then I feel like this pressure. Like, just
Do they come by a lot?
Sometimes, when I did Mermaid Melody, we had a couple of the creators in there for a while because they wanted to hear the music. So a lot of it is musical, and we redid all the songs in English. So they wanted to hear that and stuff. So they were in there, and that was nerve-wracking, because they'll give you notes and stuff, but they're speaking Japanese, so the translator gives you notes, and it's like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know what you're talking about. The translators usually speak Japanese way better than English. But, yeah, that can be scary. Sorry, was that creepy? Hello? No, I'm just kidding. I like to skip my boyfriend in the dark that way. Yeah. Just little girl voices. Stop it, you're scaring me!
Matt, come here. Do you want to play?
Too fun. Touche. So, questions for answers. I'm sorry, guys. Sure.
The translators you mentioned, are they in-house at like Funimation, or do they come over with the
There is both Japanese translators that translate to English. There's a team at both Funimation and ADB that just does translation. That most of them are bilingual and they speak fluent Japanese moving forward. And a lot of times they travel back and forth because they're the ones that a lot of times are they achieve the licenses because they speak the language. So they'll go to Japan and get the licenses. But every single company has a group of people that's all they do is translate. And sometimes you can't translate exactly what it's saying, because we'll say I love you because the flaps are blah blah blah. But what she says in the Japanese is I don't really love you, I only kind of love you. But you can't fit that in blah blah blah, so you have to say I love you, So and sometimes that is an issue. People are like, but that's not what she was really saying, and it's like, but there's no way to fit that in that. Because if not, it would have been like I love you, but it would have looked like I don't know Godzilla. It's not gonna work out, But that's another thing that's very difficult for the writers to do is they have to be true to the Japanese story, but also it has to translate to an American because we have different cultures, And some of this stuff just wouldn't. Pawnee Pony Dash is all completely about Japanese TV shows that we have never seen in America at all. Nobody has, So if you haven't seen those Japanese TV shows, you're just like, what the heck is going on? Because it's everything, if you've seen the anime, it's just off the wall crazy. There's a salamander coming out the statue's neck, and then they break a window, and then they're, it's just nuts, off the wall nuts. And what it does is it makes fun of a bunch of TV shows. But in order to make it work in America, we would have to, so we kind of had to translate it, make it make sense, but not really make sense, and that was difficult because nobody knows the shows that it was, so nobody can laugh when you were supposed to laugh. So you have to make a joke that will, in turn get the same reaction out of the audience. Because sometimes the culture does not translate well. And I know that and that's another thing, is in America, if you had released something and we as Americans tried as hard as we could to sound exactly like the Japanese in pitch and tone and things like that, nobody in America would probably see it because it would be very not like us. In our culture, it isn't, we don't necessarily high pitch our voices on purpose. We don't do that most of the time in our culture. So if we were watching an anime and everybody was doing what we perceive the Japanese people doing, they're not really doing that. It's just how it sounds to us. It's like you listen to someone speaking Russian, it kind of sounds like they're screaming at you, but they're not. It's just how their language works, So in Japanese, their language works that way. They speak higher pitch. It's just the way that their stuff's delivered. But if we did an anime and did it like that, and the character that is supposed to be all tough is talking like this the whole time, nobody in America would want. They're gonna go, well, that's stupid. So it's hard to translate the culture without upsetting the fans. But that's why always the thing that I say is, hey, every single dub that comes out has an attached Japanese version. Watch that one. You know what I mean? If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Because every single one, go flip the disc. The other side has the Japanese. Ta-da! You can even get it without subtitles if you want to just speak. If you can speak it, problem solved. Because that's a lot of, I don't buy stuff that Funimation makes because they did dubs. It's like, the other side was, not dubbed. You know what I mean? I don't understand. I've had the craziest, man. I've had people come up and, do you realize that you ruined Soul Eater? You are personally responsible for me getting that title. And it's so funny when that person did that, we were in an autograph line, I was like, well, you should talk to the director, Zach. He's sitting right next to me, I was like, you'll talk to them? And they were like, we get out of here. It's funny. Look, actors get a lot of slack a lot of times for stuff, and you gotta realize that if you don't like it, you gotta blame the director, man. We're just being told what we're told. Actors are blank canvases and directors paint them. And if you think about it as, it's our fault because we said this wrong, or the voice isn't exactly where it should have been, or, that's the director's, that you can get mad at him because that's what he wanted, it was his intention, and it was his artwork. And that's, that is his artistic flair that he had put into the show, So, yes?
What's the strangest question you've been asked by
Oh my God, I've been asked a lot of strange questions, but I think I did a Q&A for JK Extend. And has anybody seen JK Extend? No? It's like a mecha, anime, and I'm a little girl. She's so cool. She powers the mecha. But I was asked if I was her if I would date this old guy in the series. Yeah, and like, no, actually I was asked if I personally would date him. That was just the strangest thing I was like, he's not real. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know how to respond to that. Like, you know, he's not an actual person, right? So no, I don't think I dated. Because, you know, and he's 80 in the anime. Weird. But yeah, you know, I don't know. People, man, Matt Greenfield was slapped with a fish.
What?
Yeah, he had a guy in an autograph line who was mad at him, bring up a stinky fish and slap him with it. Yeah, I've had people come up and then like be like, yeah, I did Detective Loki Ragnarok, and yeah, I was like, I had someone come up to me and go, do you play Rhea Oshima now? I was like, I do, and I'm like, oh my god, I hate black. I hate it. It's like, okay. And then they were like, will you sign this?